Good morning. Welcome to my show. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to try and break down this end times thing. Okay. Um, and what it is, it's hard to comprehend the spiritual nature of it when you've been in the lower realms for such a long period of time and not being able to understand the spiritual world. And the consciousness of the people being on such a lower realm. um, it's like the people today are on the same level as they were in Egypt. Okay, they don't know that they're slaves. They think that they're free for the most part. Like they know that they're enslaved, but it kind of goes like this. Like, you have the Moses coming and he's like, "Yo, we need to get out of here," and the people are like, "No, I'm not leaving the city. I'm not going into the forest because I don't know how to survive in the forest." And when you take, a whole tribe of people and you put them in a city and enslave them over generations, and they lose their um, contact with Mother Earth because they're in this mindset of thinking that the person on the pedestal is their God. And it all comes down to the false idol worship, and you have everything of today is a repeat of history. But if the people aren't able to comprehend the repeat, um, if they don't know their history, they're not able to comprehend it today. And you can't put technology into the time period of Jesus and the biblical times and all that, even with the time period of um, Egypt, because what you have two different sections that they talk about that came out of Egypt. You have the um, whole thing with Moses and the movie that they created in the 50s, and then you have the whole mystical side of Osiris and Isis and everything like that. You have two different sections, but there's a reasoning why they quit making movies about Moses, and because the fallen ones who actually came out of that time period after the fall of Atlantis, they manipulated everything, and then you have the war with the tribes and everything that happened in history, but you go through these time periods. Let's just put it this way: that when you talk about Moses bringing down all this stuff in history, it becomes like a joke. It becomes like a joke to the people because they don't have the energy frequency of this time period. And people want to move forward in ascension. They want to they want to go up into heaven, become enlightened and everything like that, but it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work the way that the people think it's going to work in their mind. Because if you remember the first time you heard of light workers and star seeds and ascension and the fifth dimension, it all like becomes hunky dory and it's cool, and it's ooh, I'm going to play with some singing bowls and play with some crystals, and even doing Reiki. And so you have all like all this stuff on the surface, because the people, they may even look at the Christ consciousness, and then they have all this bullshit with Sananda and all the false idol worships that have been created out of everything, because they really don't know. And when you talk of the Gnostic Christ and Christ consciousness, you can't reach this level unless you know Sophia, unless you know Pistis Sophia, Gaia Sophia. You can't reach this level unless you truly have the knowledge of what it all is. And so you have, hold on a second, be right back. So you have all this mystical stuff that has come out of history, and you have um, all the time periods. Let's say the Nordics, the Irish, German, all being slaughtered. You have the um, burning of the forest, all the people running to America. Then you have, let's say, just everything, just that, Europe and everything that came out of, you just look at the movie 300, for example. You have this dark army, okay? You have all of this stuff in all these movies where it's like there's a dark army and it's spiritual because it's it's what came out of this fall of creation. I'm not speaking on any of this stuff coming from a religious sense, because I don't like religion, because religion has stolen words. They have manipulated languages to create their own casted spell over the people ever since Egypt. Because the fall, when the people were in Egypt, they couldn't read, they couldn't write, they didn't even know who their God was. And so if you look at that time period and you put that time period into today, it's the same thing. It's the false idol on the pedestal, and you have the people not searching out God, just being comfortable in their bullshit life, and it just being this way. And they think in their mind and in their consciousness that everything is going to be okay, as long as they ignore it. What has happened over the past couple of years is far from okay. If you're not able to see what's going on around the world, and it's you're refusing to take a look at it, it becomes more painful, because what is going to happen, this is the return of Christ. This is the return of Father in heaven. Whatever you think of creation, it's going whatever, because people are mind controlled of these revelations. You have the Antichrist on the surface, because when you talk of the history and what came out of the fall, the creation, the the Cain and Abel, and the whole Adam and Eve in the tree, what it is people, the whole thing with Noah and the flood, and you have an ice age, and you have all kinds of stuff that has happened over God knows how many timelines, because you go into the mystical creatures. When you talk of like the Greek times and the Nordic times and all these strange creatures with different DNAs, mixed DNAs, half human, half, whatever, goat, half, dragons and, beasts of, who knows, all this weird stuff. That's all like spiritual. It comes from the source of spirit. So I kind of got off topic a little bit of where I'm going, but I'm just trying to break down these dimensions to get to where we are today. So you take 5 minutes and look at every single timeline that you know of history, and you bring it forth to today. The when you talk of the Antichrist and you talk of this whole thing of Satan and all this stuff that has come to the surface of thinking that it is fantasy, horror movies, and music, and all this stuff, that's just the icing on the cake, because you have everything that has come out of history that is of evil. There was no evil in the tree. There was a forest, there were fairies, there were unicorns, there was beautiful water, there was all kinds of beautiful things. But the mind can't even comprehend where heaven is at. Even though that you were born from heaven, your consciousness is on a lower frequency of not understanding how to return your mind to heaven to be able to speak with God again. This has nothing to do with religion, because I say the word God. You can say creator, father, sky, whatever you want to say. The spirit has been taken away from the people. The spirit was taken away from the First Nation people and and the black people and the white people, brown people, red people, purple people. But the people today can't understand what the spirit was that the First Nation people had, that the original people had. They don't know who Gaia is. They don't know her consciousness. They don't understand creation. Because those fallen ones, they call him Lucifer. And then they do off, the manipulation of creating the Satan, and this false image, as they say, because there are two who come from Gaia. There are two that come from Mother Earth. They come from Eve. And they want to be the king of the forest. One wants to override the other. There's a green man and there's a dark man. The dark man is nothing but a shadow of the green man. It's a manipulation in the matrix, is where we are. And so we're in the Greek wars. We're in a time period. We're in the mama's belly. And so you have this rebirthing of two, but one won't make it. And so this trip in enlightenment, this lack of Buddha's knowledge, the lack of spiritual teachings of the people today is where they have gone into the technology world, which is ran by the beast. And so you have all this stuff that has happened in history, all of these holy wars, as they call them, and the people today in America can't comprehend a holy war, even though they see the stuff that takes place across the pond. When people go to church out on Christmas and they get slaughtered, people see, this hasn't happened in America. The Antichrist army has not been released on the people yet. Everything that is taking place today is just the icing on the cake. You can take a look around the world and see what's going on with the lockdowns, and in Australia and everything. The people have ignored the situation. They've ignored the world's situation. Americans have ignored the world's situation. They have seen the world get slaughtered generation after generation. Just the time period that I have been alive, from the 70s, all of the wars. And they sit here thinking that nothing will ever happen to them. This is their problem. This is the mind control that has come down on them. They feel that they're isolated. And all these people who go to church in America, who think that they're going to church to see Jesus. They're not. They're not seeing Jesus in the church. They're seeing the false idol. Because it doesn't matter how many times you regurgitate the Bible, you'll still never be able to see through it. Because people are ignorant. They're greedy. They're not talking about the children. They're not talking about the animals. They're not talking about Mother Earth. And they don't understand that the Christ, the wife of Christ, is Mother Earth. The sun goes into the water every night, and the moon comes out. They have taken the information out of the Bible for for people to understand more. The people need to know truly the Buddha path to reach the Christ, because Buddha is an extension of the Christ. It's a different time period. And if you look and you see what has come out of India, then you'll see. But all of this war, all of this stuff, this medieval times, the killing of the white people, brown people, black people, has all come out of the fall. And they're not going to see it until it comes around the corner. These are those times. I couldn't understand it when I was younger because I was mind controlled, brainwashed by the beast. But in reality, we light workers, star seeds, being undercover. Because if they have stolen the body of Adam, you have the extension of the mother, Eve, Mother Earth, the divine mother, God's creation. The separation of the people, is the heart and the mind. And the unity of connecting with Mother Earth and Father Sky. And communicating on a love frequency. And I know my friends, handful of people, because my circle's not very big. I don't allow anyone in my circle anymore. Because I can see that there's demons in everybody. And the push of the demonic ones against the humans in this reality, because they have been in the spiritual world, manipulating your spirit, manipulating the people, thinking that there's only ghosts in haunted houses. There's only ghosts over there. When you consciously become aware of the slaughters that have taken place throughout time, even on this land in America, they tell you, you hear about it, the slaughter of all of the First Nation. But do they really tell you? Because you can't pick up the consciousness, and you can't pick up the energy of the spirit that has been shedding tears for a really long time. Because we have been on the lower frequency, waking up every day with anxiety. Not me, but this reality. Because you come in from heaven every morning into this human body, into a lower frequency, and you wake up in your body with anxiety as soon as you open your eyes, not understanding why, and not sure what is going on in the spiritual world, because the people have been mind controlled. I see so much more, and I see and I understand we are in the mama's belly, and there's a Christ, there's a Gaia, and there's this evil essence that wishes to sneak its way through and try and come into this reality. But it's not going to happen. This is what Father has shown me. This is the returning to heaven, because they, wanting to go back into heaven, can't. Only God's people, only God's children can return to heaven, can return into enlightenment. And it's nothing bad. But what the only bad part that it's going to be is the slaughter. I understand. If the people get slaughtered, they go out to church in America. Look at your situation right now. You know, it's in Georgia. It's on the stones. It's in history. But people say it can never happen. You got to go back into what Christmas really is. Maybe it's not the birthing of one child. Maybe it's the birthing of two children. Because we know it's not Jesus. And the people who celebrate Christmas, who know nothing about Jesus or Christ or what has come out of the satanic stuff that came out of Egypt, that goes back before the tribes, that goes back before Osiris and Isis. The craziness that took place back then. If the people did not abide by God's laws back in the day, the sun rising, the sun setting, the holidays, lighting of these Jewish candles, you would surely be put to death, because you're walking in the same reality as hell. You're in hell unless you're able to elevate your spirit and your soul back into heaven. But there's an occult saying you have to go through the Lucy realms to get back into heaven. Okay? You got to go through those realms outside. Even if you look at the Nordic times and look at Odin and you look at all of the 9 worlds, It's like it's, what was that? Oh, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 years ago. The original Celts, the original dragon bloodline, the golden goddesses of the forest. That's heaven in this realm. But you have all of this other essence which manipulated the people back in the day, manipulated the tribes, manipulated God's people. And they lost their righteousness, and they lost their seed, God's magic, to the perversion that came over the people. Lack of consciousness and lack of seed makes you go blind. This is why people can't see God. And so you have this artificial intelligence, and you have this Antichrist, and you have all of this stuff. See, before the artificial intelligence, there was that army of, let's say, brown people that come from the Middle East. And if you look at what's been going on for the years, the migration of them, being prepared for a holy war. It doesn't matter if you say you're not religious, because there's the manipulation of Christianity and religion. I know, I was there. The people who they want to grow out of religion, they don't want to be in religion, so they separate themselves. That's fine, but they don't try to understand what the truth is. Some people do, some people don't. But now that we have awakened, we have been able to see the truth. And we're able to become more psychic, more able to pick up on demonic energy because it's in their eyes. They have stolen the body of Adam and Eve, because God created his own clones, let's say. The beast wants to create their own clone through the transhumanism and and creating their own DNA strand with what they have jabbed everybody with. See, like the people in the West, if they have no knowledge of what has happened here in the East, of within the old religion, and what has really happened here on the East Coast, because you have all the secret society BS, and it's like all blah blah blah. They use it, whatever, with this 3D reality that we are in, because Christ is returning to the lower realms. It's like a threshold, okay? The one who God's son, that one will not be returning to human form. People expect him to come in a cloud. They expect him to come in a city that is up there in a cloud, but can't even comprehend or if they're talking about a UFO. So does that mean he's an alien? Because I'm confused. but he's going to come in a cloud. But see, you can't get to heaven without looking at what has been created. The people have unconsciously manifested the false idol. Because the ones created the religion hijacked him after he died, hijacked his family, told a different story of this man who comes from heaven into the lower realms to take his wife home. If you only know the biblical shit and you don't look at any other timeline and do any other research, you're not going to know anything. And that's the problem. People don't know the interdimensional stuff. And so they're scared. They ignore everything instead of trying to comprehend it. My people understand, the ones in my little group. But it's fearful. It's scary. It's because it's lack of spirit, lack of knowledge, lack of wisdom. Because when you have the feeling of God around you, God coming through you, there's no fear. You have to overcome it in your mind. This is the end game for them. But the people need to see. There may be a lot of people that die. But the people that die, their soul knows. Because their soul's going to be in heaven. Warriorship. To free the people of this beast matrix. Where people see stuff and don't react to it. There's no community, there's no unity. The animals, the children, look at it. You need to look really, really hard. Look outside your frickin' window and look at your society. Even if you do live up in the mountains. Because that's part of the problem too. The problem is everywhere. And the problem is coming for the people who want to be free. There's no accidents. God would not create storms that kill people, that kill good people. He will create storms to kill the evil, to protect his people. But so this whole thing in history, good versus evil, satanic Luciferian worship, everything that they have stolen from God, manipulating God's spiritual world, manipulating his extended family, his children, Divine Mother's children, Gaia. And this one who came. Because in reality, what he came, if you go into the book of Adam and Eve, this one had to come from heaven because his wife was stuck down here with Adam. Can't comprehend that one. It's interdimensional, so whatever. I really don't care. And so, this is it. This is it. This is it. Oh boy. Have a good day.